welcome to Talking Trades, the weekly podcast where this didn't take us 40 minutes to set up. I'm Jeremy, I'm a DC fan.
And I'm John from Marvel Nut.
And I'm Matt, and I go both ways.
We are talking... we are talking about Umbrella Academy season 2 today, gentlemen. Normally we don't do this during one shots, but we are going to do some brief news because we have some interesting stuff to do. So a sped up version of the This Week in Geek bump here, please, Matt. Thank you.
This Week in Geek.
So what do we got, gentlemen, for news? We got to check the other Discord because I had to set up a second Discord.
Well, today we had some big news about, or rather today as in August 18th, the year 2020 of the era of COVID-19. We had a little bit of a week, a little leak.
We did have a bit of a week. Leak, yes.
Yeah. Marvel's Avengers. John and I talked about it on that fun, double episode we released. Has apparently
the episode.
Yeah. Apparently, there has been a leak, and some people have pulled up 15 unannounced characters reportedly found in a data mine.
Yes, the leak. People data mined the beta that came out.
They data mined the beta?
Yep.
Data beta?
And
data mine?
And should I go through them? Should I not go through them?
Yeah, let's go through them. Why not, right?
It's out there now. The world knows.
Okay. Cool. The unannounced DLC post-launch characters are probably going to be included. Anyway, we only have their names. They are Ant-Man, Wasp, Vision, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Falcon, Marvel, Mockingbird, Quake, Winter Soldier, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, Kate Bishop, She-Hulk, and War Machine.
Now, the one that you may not know, because who cares, is Mockingbird.
Bobby Moss.
Don't know what her gameplay is going to look like, but hey, she is apparently happening. So there's that.
Yep.
It's probably going to look very similar to Black Widow.
You got to imagine, right?
I don't know what her unique ability is going to be.
Will she have one? Who's to say?
I think she's going to have to. Every character has like an ultimate, so she's going to have something.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I'm looking forward to playing that game more and more every day, it seems.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. I'm super in for it.
Yeah, me too.
How are we not? How could you not be super hype?
Yeah. Looks like it's going to be a fun time.
We also have some information about some more DC news, unfortunate DC news. After the big layoff, the 20% layoff, it sounds like, is the number that I have consistently heard. 20% of their staff was laid off. Some comics were also canceled.
Mm-hmm.
The comics that were canceled include Teen Titans, Young Justice, Suicide Squad, Hawkman, Justice League Odyssey, Batgirl, Batman and the Outsiders, Metal Men. What else here? It's a lot. There's a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John Constantine, Hellblazer, which is unfortunate. A lot of books, man. A lot of books. You got to wonder what this means for comics in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, it's not looking great right this second.
No,
it is not.
It's looking good for Marvel, though, I guess.
Do you think this decision has anything to do with, I know a month ago, remember when DC pulled out from working with
Diamond?
Yeah. Do you think that's at all connected?
So here's my absolutely no basis theory. After pulling out with Diamond, they had to start putting their own money into the distribution. So this is them pulling back until they can distribute cleanly and evenly. And then they can always bring books back. But they're kind of like, they're tightening their wallets right now to reallocate that money into distribution until later. That's sure. Again, it's all pure speculation. I don't know how this business works, but Matt, I do think that there is something to be said about that.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We don't have an insider on this. Obviously, we don't have an insider period, except for our friend Patty Jenkins here, who is, you've seen on Instagram, probably. She's co-host the show. Pretty big deal.
If at all, this is related to them trying to see games.
Yeah.
There's
no. It scares me a little bit, but I gotta think that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman won't go away. Right? Like they're too popular. They're too popular. Batman is like one of the most recognized. Superman is actually up with like Jesus Christ as far as recognizable characters. And that's not me being blasphemous. That's just saying, like, if you showed a people from around the world a picture of Jesus, they probably would know. And if you showed a picture of Superman, they probably would know who it is. So,
right.
And I think other than Batman the Outsiders, pretty much every other Bat thing in the works is still in the works.
Batgirl got canceled. But yeah, so that was that. Sticking with DC Bat news, Ruby Rose has actually come out and talked about why she decided to leave.
Yes, and I have the exact quote that she gave to, I believe, EW. So she said, being the lead of a superhero show is tough. Being the lead in anything is tough. But I think in that particular instance, it was a lot more difficult because I was still recovering from my surgery. I had my surgery, and then 10 days later, I went to work, which maybe wasn't the best idea. Most people take about a month or 3 off before they return to work, so it was definitely made more difficult by that. But as far as being a lead of a show or a film, regardless if it's action or if it's emotional, in whichever ways, it is taxing. The surgery that she mentioned was emergency surgery last year after she herniated 2 of her discs from her intense stunt work on Batwoman, which...
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Which also hit a pre-existing injury to flare up and cause her chronic pain, with her spinal cord at risk of being severed and paralyzing her.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Straight up. I mean, I didn't hold it against her.
That's a health thing.
Yeah, I didn't hold it against her for leaving anyways. Because I'm sure she had good reason, but like this, even like I completely get it. You're doing it maybe not because you don't want to be a part of the show. You're doing it because it's legit.
You might die.
Yeah, a liability.
Wow. Nothing but love and positivity to Ruby Rose.
Yeah.
Like you said before this, but I mean, now I feel like, wow.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah, like
it really
rough.
sucks.
I completely understand her decision. I can't imagine it was an easy decision to make, but I completely get it.
Man, oh man, that's sad.
Yeah,
and I'm glad she's okay though. I'm glad she made the healthy choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a lot of people in Hollywood who wouldn't have made the healthy choice.
No, I think a lot of people would have either the money would have been too good or whatnot. And maybe
their pride.
Yeah, or their pride. I mean, like, if you put me in that situation in like a show like that, and I was playing like Nightwing, for instance, like that would be an unbelievably difficult decision for me to make. You know, like if any of us were actors in a show that revolves around one of our favorite comic book characters, it can't be an easy decision to make. But yeah, well wishes.
Her to be the first. She's the first Bat character in the Berlantiverse. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal, and I'm sure she didn't take this decision lightly as it is. Like that's rough, man.
Yeah. It's like you said, you know, all well wishes to Ruby Rose. She's great. It's just I can't imagine ever having to make a decision like that.
No, absolutely not. Well, all the positivity and love to Ruby Rose. That's really hard. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. Yes,
man. John, do you have anything to say about this, or
not really? My heart goes out to her. I very much give her all the credit in the world for returning to work 10 days after surgery.
Yeah, 10 days. That's insane.
Yeah, I can't even fathom that.
I don't think I could do that. I don't think I had the strength. I'm a baby when it comes to pain and surgeries and stuff. No, thank you.
Yeah. I feel like that's a common theme between us three.
Yeah. After a herniated back surgery, especially. Yeah, no thanks, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Good for her. She's
Yeah.
way stronger than I am. All right. Well, that takes us out of the news, and let's just jump right into the This Week in Geek one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Team Zero.
This Week in... I don't get that reference.
It's
in the show.
I know, but I haven't watched the whole show, so I don't get the reference yet. So you're going to have to explain it. So we're talking about Umbrella Academy Season 2. I'm on episode 4.
Nice.
By the way, spoilers? Spoilers. So
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I don't mind spoilers. I'll live. But I did watch some of it, and I tell you what, I really liked it. So
Yeah.
why don't you guys go ahead and do most of the talking this one, and I will say, yes, that's cool. Klaus is great.
He is great. He has a whole cult and everything.
He continues to be my favorite. He's so good. What a fun character. John, you're the big Umbrella Academy boy.
Well, I try.
You succeed.
So what's like the big thing you want to talk about for this show, like for season 2?
It's just great.
All right, cool.
It's
See you next week.
wild divergence from the Dallas arc, but going into it, you couldn't have done it the same way.
No.
They
I don't
take
think so.
part of it where they're in Dallas, and it revolves around part of the
They take a
Kennedy
large part of
assassination.
it, a lot of interesting nods to the books itself, but like the twist in the Dallas comic in the show, it really is highly implausible to have Allison have been standing in for Jackie Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just would not
because-
have worked out.
No, it would not have. So what's like the explain it like I'm 5 or the TLDR, too long didn't read, for the show's plot? They're sent back in time to the 60s.
So on that
various
top
times
level,
in the 60s.
they escaped the apocalypse in 2019 and they're sent back to the 60s. They all appear at the same spot, but at different times across, I think, 3 or 5 years.
I think it was 3. I think like 1960
60s
was
the earliest.
when, yeah, the
Okay.
first one fell.
But like all different times, so they all have to go out and find live their own life in a new time period that they're very unfamiliar with.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 is the one to arrive on the latest date, and he arrives during nuclear apocalypse, nuclear
Sure
war.
does.
Unfortunate.
And Hazel pops up, very old Hazel, and gives him some information to help him avert the apocalypse. And that's what he does. He goes back in time to 1963, or I'm sorry, to like 10 days prior. And his whole thing is to try and get the gang back together to fix this and not have this happen.
Yes.
And that's the very high level plot.
Yeah, that's like the overarching description that you would give it. Like you would read it in like Netflix.
That's the synopsis.
That's the back of the book
synopsis.
quote. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a good synopsis. I liked it a lot. So let's talk. Do we want to go super into the entire story? Do we want to talk about the characters? Do we want to talk about individual character arcs? How do we want to do this? Like we could talk
figured
about
the
all of
character
that.
arcs, because the show is a buffet of beautiful character development.
Yes, it is.
So I figured
Yes, it
going
is.
through each arc would be a good way to illustrate that.
Yeah.
I could agree with that. Let's start with the who's the character who grows the least, and why is it 5?
Because he's perfect as he is.
Because he's a crotchety old
he
man.
is. But in like a 14-year-old's body, it's the best. It's hilarious. The actor who plays him, who we talked about the last time we did this show, who I will pull his name
Aidan
up,
Gallagher.
he's so good.
He is.
He's great. He's
Forget the Timothy
fantastic.
Chalamet boy. I don't know what the deal is with him. This kid's better.
Fun fact, he turned 16 while filming season 2.
nice.
Wow.
Nice.
He's a child.
And apparently so much so that he's not legally allowed to be on set when a gun was fired.
Wow.
He's
a child.
Yeah, like there are labor laws in place. Like child.
Wow. He's seriously. I legitimately don't understand the hype around this Timothy Chalamet boy. I don't get it.
Who is Timothy
Because
Chalamet?
That's a fantastic question, John.
He's going to be the lead in the Dune movie coming out. That is about as much as I know.
Call Me
about
by
him.
Your Name, I believe.
Surprisingly, I've not seen that one.
John Mulaney's wife is in love with him. Let me see. Oh, his name is spelled with 2 E's, no Y. I didn't realize that. He's a good looking kid. Don't get me wrong. He's like 24 years old. He's a good looking kid, but like, why are we not talking about how good Aidan Gallagher
He was
is?
in Lady Bird, I guess. I wanted to see that one.
Lady Bird is, I think, the thing that like people are like, oh my god,
Interstellar.
Interstellar. He was in Interstellar, yeah. The Adderall Diaries, Call Me by Your Name is the big one. Lady Bird, Beautiful Day, Little Women. He was in Little Women. He was Laurie in Little Women, and he'll be in Dune.
Yeah, because this is the first time hearing that name, like by name, I guess.
Oh man,
So I don't
you
know.
don't go on TikTok.
I do not. I like to keep my data. Thank you.
Oh, it's your data's getting stolen other ways. I just decided that I'm going to watch funny videos while my data's getting
No,
stolen.
I do, but I watch the YouTube compilations because I'm garbage.
Yeah, we like to give our data only to the United States. We don't give it to China.
Thank you very much.
You have a TikTok, Matt.
I have it. I haven't used it in a long, long time.
Don't matter.
Yeah, your data's still gone.
Oh, I know. It was gone the moment I downloaded it, but like, okay.
Again, I'll say it again. Your data's been gone.
Yeah.
None of us are safe.
No.
So Timothy
And we can't even write We can't even write letters about this because the post office apparently is shutting down. Why are we in the? Are we in the apocalypse timeline?
You know what?
It would make more sense.
I saw an article. I did not click it. I don't know how real it is, but it said there's an alleged like heartbeat in a cloud in space. And
Yeah, I
people
saw
are
that
like,
too.
"Oh man, Galactus!" I'm like, you know
Yes.
what? I wouldn't hate it right
At
about
this
now.
point,
But not the good Galactus, the hungry cloud from
no,
Fantastic Four.
that's not how anyone deserves to go out.
you know what though? If we get Stan Lee showing up to the Reed Richards wedding again, I'll live with it.
Yeah. I'm Stan Lee. Anyways, Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, sorry. Let's talk about something good. Umbrella Academy is fantastic.
So
everybody is super good in this show.
Oh, yeah.
everybody is super good. So 5 stories like main plot. So I don't know if you want to do that one
Yeah.
last.
We did that one last. Let's start with
5.
Diego has a
Vanya,
good one.
Diego, I think, are the most like main line.
You know what? Ben has a little bit of character development too.
Oh man, you don't even know, Jeremy. You don't even know.
He starts to stand up for himself in the first 4
He
episodes.
sure
Does that
does.
continue?
I also, I feel like Allison's is a very good one to also open with.
It is
It's
excellent.
pretty poignant.
But yes,
Especially with
Yeah,
what's going on
is it?
now.
I hadn't noticed.
So she was dropped off in, I believe, 1961.
62 because it's a year anniversary. Her 1 year anniversary is as the JFK stuff is
but
happening,
of,
so it's
of
62.
getting married.
Yeah, of
So
getting
she-
married. I thought she
probably
was there a
she had
year
gotten her
earlier.
before that.
Yeah, like I think it was
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, it was why can't I think of his name? Number 1. He was there for a
Luther.
year.
Oh, Luther.
Luther was
Luther.
there for a year. And then Rumor was there
Oh,
for
that's
2
why
years.
he said that.
I believe Klaus was
There's
there.
a scene where
So a lot of this
Luther
is
meets her
presented out
husband.
of order. So like you're going to get a lot of as you go with us.
Well, when Luther meets her husband, he says, "Oh, yeah, we've been married for a year," and he gets this like incredulous look. And I thought it was, "Oh, she got married right away. She gave up on me." It's I could have found her. By the time I would have found her, if she wouldn't have gotten married, I didn't find her in time.
Yeah.
That's what his face is about. I get it now.
Yeah, but Rumor, Allison, she drops in. She still has the injury from Vanya from when she cut her throat in the last season.
And one thing that hit me only in watching season 2 a second time, the jacket she's wearing at the end of season 1 / when she drops in season 2 is like exactly Rumor's jacket from the comics. And that did not dawn on me until
Neat.
this late in the
That's
game.
cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. But she's dropped in and she goes to a diner. And then I believe she is unknowingly, I don't think any of them know that they're in the 60s right out of the gate. She goes into a diner She's met with grief as the
because she's black.
Yeah, the
the
proprietor says
diner
like, "Hey,
owner.
can't you read? It says whites only."
it says whites only right next to the menu.
And her name,
It's
her
almost
last name is
like systematic
Emmy
racism has
River
always
Lampman, the
existed.
actress. I can't remember. I think it's Emmy River Lampman. She does her.
Who's that?
So,
Are you talking about
she
Rumor?
plays, yeah, Allison. She does some of the best emoting possible. I'm like, oh, this is the society we dropped into.
Yeah. So that brings up something interesting, right? Like the three of us could be dropped into pretty much any time in history and
Yeah,
be
we'd be
fine
fine.
because we're all white men. But if you're literally anybody else who's not a white man, you're in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
But continuing, she leaves.
Sorry, real quick. Her name is Emmy Rever Lampman. You're
Yeah.
right, John.
John was right.
Cool.
So, and this all kind of takes place throughout the span of the series. So this all doesn't happen in one episode. There is they do have singular episodes for each of the characters.
Yeah, this
that
is
gives a
basically
good
her plot
amount.
start to finish in order.
Yeah. It gives them the good amount of their backstory and stuff. And then they sprinkle in things, as it happens, but she leaves the restaurant. 3 white men begin to follow her, catcall her. They start chasing her. She eventually runs into a hair salon, which was owned by black people. Is a hair salon for black men and
For
women.
black hair.
Yeah, for black hair. And the gentlemen try to get in. They get turned away.
I love how they're like threatened. One of them with a pair of scissors, another with a what's it called? Dryer?
hair dryer.
But like no curler.
A blow dryer.
No,
curler
it's like the
or
rod that
straight-
gets super hot.
yeah,
curling iron.
Yeah, curling iron.
Curling iron. They're like, why don't you go try this other salon up there? I hear they specialize with your hair. It's like, you know, they've been told that time and time again throughout their life.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
Beautiful scene.
And so they leave. They try to talk to Allison. Allison currently cannot talk because her vocal cords don't work. So she spends the
Because
next
Vanya slit her throat.
Yeah,
Yep.
because the whole Vanya thing. So she spends the next few months or so, essentially working as like just help around the hair salon.
Yeah,
and they just assume
she's shown like picking up the hair from the ground and counting money and like doing all sorts of helping.
Yeah, and so she and they just assume she's mute. She can't talk. But then Mr. Chestnut comes in, who is her love interest for the show, who eventually is her husband. And, you know, he's handsome, charming, great dude overall. Big fan of his.
Yep.
He kind of reminds me of the guy who was in Green Book and was Copperhead in the first few episodes of Luke Cage.
Okay.
Just like very smooth, very like he's a good looking dude, just like super cool.
Yeah, but with
not
with
cocky.
no ulterior motive or anything.
No,
just a good
he's
dude.
Yeah, no,
smooth-
not Copperhead, like, but just the actor who played Copperhead. Just like
Yeah.
there's like oozes charisma.
Yeah, it's a smooth, cool, really good person. Is what Mr. Chestnut is. Eventually, he asks her out. She says yes in a very, very raspy way.
Yep.
But then, as their relationship progresses, she finds out that that hair salon doesn't only work in hair; they also work with civil rights. And she actually becomes a big part of that. I guess group at the hair salon. And when we see her in the show, like one of the first times we see her is when they're discussing doing a sit-in at the very same diner that she was turned away from.
Yes. And they do it. A riot erupts. Then is it Ray Chestnut? Is that his first name?
I think so. I think it's Ray Chestnut.
Cool.
And it's important to also mention that she has not used her power at all since what happened with Vanya in season 1.
Yeah,
So
since she
has
tried with
gone,
Vanya.
Yeah. So she's gone well over a year without using her rumor power. But the riot happens, and unfortunately, Ray is being subject to police brutality. The cop will not stop.
So then she does have to use her power.
Yeah, so she rumors him.
She rumors the officer.
Which she's like
says, I heard a
super
rumor,
against doing.
Yeah, I heard a rumor you walked away. So he just leaves, which causes Ray to be like, what just happened?
Yeah, completely shocked. Like, what did you say?
I didn't realize you were a government plant. Because there's no other conceivable reason why in 1963 this officer would have just left me alone because you said something.
Exactly.
Like, doesn't make any sense. So he's locked up in prison, gets sprung out by Klaus, which we'll get to.
Well, he's actually sprung out before that.
Sprung out before that.
He is released from. Owners, I know this is because I just watched it. He's released from prison. He's put in prison because of they're planning the sit-in, and a guy comes in and provokes them essentially to say that he was struck when really he wasn't. It wasn't really that big a deal. The cops arrest him. He meets Klaus in jail. Klaus gets him out using ghost powers, and then he's like, Klaus is like, oh hey, you're my brother. And then he goes home and meets Luther, who's like, oh yeah, I'm also Allison's brother. And so then he comes to the sit-in and is like, hey, what's going on, Allison?
Yeah.
Allison then reveals her power to him on accident, and he's like, I don't know you anymore. Don't talk to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has just had his whole life like thrown under the bus, almost literally in the span of less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also the Umbrella Academy, they're all very different kids. So like they all look so having both of them be like, oh yeah, I'm her brother.
Yeah.
You know, this person whose family you never met. I'm also her brother. Yeah, it's very suspect.
Yeah. But yeah, so when when they do go to that diner for the second time, she shows him her power. She rumors the owner to pour coffee and burn his hand
and keep going with the coffee.
And keep going, don't stop. Which was brutal. I can't imagine how that would feel. Just
not good.
No,
not good.
Pretty hot. And then so that happens. She runs into Luther and Klaus, and eventually she gets pulled away to assist in 5 telling her that, hey, the apocalypse has followed us here to 1963.
And she's like, again?
Yep.
What's going on?
But she does decide to make things right with Ray and tell him the whole story.
Yep.
Yeah, how do you tell someone you have superpowers?
His
main takeaway isn't that she has powers. His main takeaway is that there was a black president.
Yeah.
Like,
that's awesome.
Like, she's telling him the whole thing and he goes, wait. There was a black president. Yeah.
Yep.
In the White House. Yes. Yep. That's his main takeaway.
Yep.
I love that.
Which makes sense if you're dedicating your life to civil rights movement. Makes sense. It was just like, I didn't expect that.
Absolutely. And then basically that's kind of her plot before the big climax of the entire show. So do we want to move to another character then, or?
Yeah, just one more moment I love is right before she keeps making the guy pour coffee. Because he doesn't believe her about her rumor power because it's hard thing to grasp. So they go into like the ritzy part of town and they go into a fancy suit store.
Yep.
And she's like, my husband would like to try on this suit. He goes, he said, well, we don't allow, I think he says colored folk to try on anything. They don't make a purchase. And she goes, I had a rumor we let him try on anything in the store. And then like the red carpet's laid out. She's brought tea. He tries on a ton of different blazers and hats and just everything. It was great. It was really great.
It's a good old shopping montage.
Yeah. So we can put a pin in Allison's plot for now.
Well, because they all come together at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
We can do Klaus and Ben.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one.
It's because it's wonderful. I mean,
it
they're all
makes
wonderful.
Perfect sense. that Klaus would start a cult.
Yes, Klaus, I believe, is the first one dropped out of the I guess time rift or whatever
Yes.
that 5 creates.
And the best part is that his cult. So
Or Destiny's Children.
Destiny's Children, and it's all just like he just says stuff that he's heard in pop culture, like don't go chasing waterfalls, just stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to.
That's so good. It's so good.
Funny.
He screws up the parable about the frog and the scorpion. Oh. He is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actor's name is Robert Sheehan, and he is amazing.
Yeah, him and Klaus and Ben. I love that dynamic so much. It's so fun.
Yes. So Klaus, when he tried to get food, at the same diner, and because it's right by where they all bopped in this alley, and he's thrown out for not having enough money. And then this old cougar lady is like, "Hey, I got money."
Mm-hmm.
So then she's like showing him off to like all her fancy friends at like a gala or something. And he uses Ben to make it appear as though Klaus can float.
Yeah.
Like he has crazy mystical powers. So then it becomes a cult. And all he does is like recite song lyrics that he's heard.
It's brilliant. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Ben is getting more and more fed up with Klaus, and I get it. You can only interact with one other person, and that person is entirely self-absorbed. I get it. Like I totally get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, poor Ben doesn't get to be he's a character, but he's not like he's only interacting with one person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Poor Ben.
We'll get there,
At least-
Jeremy. We'll get there.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So Klaus just cannot deal with this cult anymore. It's no longer fun for him. So in, I believe, San Francisco, during like a prayer, a whole thing, he sneaks away, takes a car, and just gets out of there. And he says they got to go. We're going to go to Dallas, but Ben doesn't want to go to Dallas. And Klaus is like, tough. We're going to Dallas. Gets in Dallas. We find out the reason why is because of Dave, whom you may remember from season 1, whom Klaus met while in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And that broke my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Not the only time this season, though, let me tell you. So,
No.
so he remembers hearing that 2 things about Dave. A, when JFK was assassinated, that's when he decided to enlist in the army. That was what spurred him to join. And secondly, that he worked at a hardware store with his uncle.
Yep.
So he goes to the hardware store to get paint. He finds Dave, and Klaus is of course smitten. And he ends up being sold pink paint because they didn't understand what
It
eggshell
goes good in the
was.
bathroom.
That's what he was told.
Yeah.
It looks good.
And then he can't get Dave out of his mind. So he then goes back. Or no, he doesn't go back. He finds Dave at a diner. At the same
The same
diner.
Yeah.
And his uncle gets up and leaves. So he sneaks in the booth with Dave and is like, listen, this is crazy. I know you. And he starts telling Dave a lot of things Klaus couldn't otherwise possibly have known about him. About how they love each other. They met during the army. He knows that right now what he's doing is because he needs to become a man. That's what his uncle wants him to do. But it doesn't have to be like that. His uncle comes back and forcibly makes Dave shut Klaus up by, and his words, punch the queer.
Yep.
Yep.
It is 1963.
Yes.
Yep.
Gotta bear that in mind.
It could have been 1985, and that language still would have been like the norm, unfortunately.
Yes. But then you would have had the 70s where I don't know. The point is, like, it's awful. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
I cried. It was awful. And then Klaus leaves, and Ben's like, "You're an idiot. You just freaked this kid out." Klaus is like, "Okay, I know what to do. Time to go on a little bender."
Yep. And
So he
goes
gets
and
boozed up and goes back to
boozed
his
up.
lavish mansion that he has.
Yes.
Because, of course, he does, from the rich cougar lady, presumably. And the cult found
Well,
him there.
the cult gives him plenty of money.
Yeah. And the cult's there. So he's like, okay, so we're just going to live this life. Could be worse things going on. And then the more time he spends with Ben, Ben's like, listen, you don't pay attention. You don't care about these people. These people aren't just toys. And he's like, no, I care. And Ben's like, oh, yeah? What about this girl, Jill, that I'm really sweet on? Oh, and he can never remember who she is. And he always gives very off-base replies. And they're all very different. Happens like 2 or 3 times. It's great.
Yeah, and so Ben convinces him to tell the cult the truth, that he is a fraud, and it does not go well.
Oh, did you get to that part, Jeremy, or no?
Nope.
Oh my God.
Okay, I stopped at the bend. I stopped
It
at
is-
the bender.
Hilarious.
He gets in front of everyone and he goes, first of all, he says, my name is Klaus. And it's Ben. He goes, no, that's a different kind of meeting. He goes, okay, my name is Klaus and I am a fraud. That is it.
That's
I'm
amazing.
a fraud. And then someone from the crowd stands up and goes, I am a fraud.
Yeah, essentially,
No,
it is
I am
the
a fraud.
I'm
Spartacus.
Spartacus.
Yes, it is it is a Spartacus thing.
Only
I broke
accepting
the
that we're a
dam.
fraud can we go forward. And Klaus is like, no, I am straight up a fraud.
That's freaking amazing.
You
It
told
is
as long as you know,
hysterical.
as long as we know how to love, we will survive. He goes, no, I stole that line.
Basically, it blows up in his face. He storms back into his room, and he tells Ben, "See, I tried."
Yeah, he did tell Ben, I'll make sure there's no Kool-Aid in the house.
That's
It's
unbelievable.
so great. At this point, Ben gets head up and charges at Klaus and can possess Klaus now,
Yes,
which is neat.
yes.
Oh.
Right afterwards, Klaus.
So he has like a full character arc.
Yeah, dude. He right afterwards, they're trying to figure out what happened while Jill and Dave come knocking at the door, and Klaus then decides. So then Klaus and Dave have another talk, and he goes, "Listen, this is crazy." And like, here's the proof I have. So he takes off the dog tags that he's been wearing this entire season. They are Dave's dog tags from Vietnam. He's had them the entire time.
Yep.
And Dave's like, listen, if I believed you, which I don't, but if I did, this is ridiculous. Like, also dying for, like, I know what I was signed up for, right? It's an honor to die for your country. Klaus is like, but you don't have to die. He gives the date and the time and the place. I cannot remember the specific valley or the date off the top of my head, but he's like, listen, on this day in this valley, you die. You don't have to. And he goes, and Dave's like, well, I already enlisted, so it doesn't matter. He goes, you're not supposed to do that yet. He goes, well, it's too late. Like, you don't have to do this. That's not gonna, like, nothing will make you a man. Like, you can just be who you are. He goes, well, it's too late for that. And that's how that ends.
Yeah.
Ben, however, fares a little better with his interest.
Yes.
Klaus agrees to let him possess him. And
Which
then
is
he does get to spend
wonderful.
like a couple hours with Jill,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah, just laying in the dirt.
Yeah. Rolling in the dirt. He gets to like have an orange off the tree, which is like the first thing he has eaten in like 16 years.
Yeah.
He walks
that's
around barefoot,
unfathomable.
and that's the first time he's felt the dirt in 16 years.
Yeah.
Like, every sense is like the first thing he's done in as much time, and it's crazy. So they start making out. It's like, listen, I'm not who you think I am. She goes, no, it's fine. I heard it's fine. He goes, I'm a virgin. And she goes, well, what about last week?
Oh boy.
He's like, what about last week? She goes, oh, you, me, and so-and-so. Like, we did the thing, like, last week. And he goes, stupid, or Dirty Klaus. She goes, yeah, Dirty Klaus.
Wow. Oh my God.
And then Diego shows up.
And then Diego shows up.
Diego, once again, makes just everything around Diego's fun. I like Diego a lot too.
Yes.
Yes.
He is quite the arc as well. He
I
shows
wanna talk a little
up
about
and then
his
gets
arc.
Klaus and Ben back. And this whole time, by the way, Klaus is trying to oust Ben from his body, and it's like not happening. Like
It is.
Ben
Okay.
is great. Like you see, like kind of Ben's head kind of come off, and like the top of his like torso, and then Klaus's arms, controlled by Ben, shoving it back in. Like it is just not happening.
Yeah, it's goofy.
And that's that plot until so sadly, like that's all you get with Joe. Like there's no resolution there, and that's all you get with Dave. And like I get the trope. Like I understand Umbrella Academy is not without its tropes. Like I get it, but like LGBTQ people not being happy in romance is like super played out. And I'm not saying I'm not saying any romantic plot needs to happen and end well, but this season does two of them, one of which is the same plot from season 1.
Yeah.
And like, we don't need that. Dave, from both.
No, come on, it's really
1 and
good.
2.
It's really good. We love it.
Do we? Do we love it?
Yeah, no, it's the best. It's so great.
So who else? Luther's plot is really quick.
Yeah, his
plot's really quick, but like
simple.
he's a simple character.
Yeah.
But I think he develops a little more here, like a little more than season 1 for sure. Like you see, like the stuff. So he's working with Jack Ruby as a fighter. Jack Ruby being the man who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, and he
fights one of the
he's
aliens.
doing like
he's fighting aliens, by the way, is King Kong, which is great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's fighting, and when he hears about Allison, that kind of takes the wind out of his sails, and he ends up losing a fight, which causes Jack Ruby to fire him. But he kind of lets his emotions out more in this season. Like he straight up flips
stands
off
there and lets this guy punch him, and doesn't do a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he flips off 5, as like a bleh. That kind of showed me that he's grown to the point where he's like, I'm done trying to be the leader. F everybody who's not me.
Yeah. 5 ends up
Which he needed to
discovering
do.
where Luther's nightclub is, where he like works, and he shows up. And Luther says, because he's watching some girl dance, and he says to 5, like, she's too old, she's too young for you. Just ridiculous. And that's where Klaus is like, the world ends in 10 days. We have to get everyone together. He goes, oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye. You're like, oh.
Again, like I'm saying, like he needs to kind of learn who he is, and he doesn't need to be he doesn't need to be the leader. He doesn't need to be everyone's daddy. He needs to be himself.
And that's one thing that you really couldn't have done in the comic, is show how these 7 characters like all do kind of grow into their own person in this new time within total isolation of everyone they knew and every comfort they had.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the only way they could have done that in the comic is if they gave each one their own separate, like, little run.
We are getting a Klaus run. That is confirmed.
What?
We're getting a Klaus run.
Fun.
There's like a mini series.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
That is definitely happening.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's pretty much Luther's plot. He gets Ruby to give him the information on where Allison is, and he goes, Ruby's like, Hargreaves, that your ex? He's like, sure. Something like that, yeah.
Well,
It's great. So we got those
Right.
4. Do you want to do Vanya, 5, or Diego?
Yeah.
We're into the main.
Let's do Vanya, because I feel like 5 and Diego definitely have the most to do with the overall plot. I mean, all
yeah, I was
three
going
of
to
them
say
do.
that.
They all like at this point, these last three all do. They're all main plot.
Yeah. Let's do Vanya.
I want to talk about Vanya because I really want to talk about how they portrayed the little boy.
Yes.
Whose name is
Harlan.
Harlan.
So Vanya, first of all, does have the
hold on.
largest departure from the comic book because she is bedridden the entirety of Dallas and does not go to the 60s at all in Dallas. Go ahead.
Yeah, in the comic.
So the one we can talk about the Vanya story in just a second. I want to talk about inclusion here and representation. And from the 4 episodes I've seen so far, and is Harlan in the whole show?
Yes, he's in every episode.
Okay. So
he's at least in every episode through the end. I don't know if there's one like in the middle that he isn't in, but he is in the entirety of the show.
Okay. Does he ever speak?
We'll get there.
Yeah.
No, I need to know.
Yes, he does eventually speak.
But
they don't make
there are very extenuating circumstances, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So my fear was they were going to make him one of those characters where it's like, oh, autism, but he can save the world because he's a savant. Like, I don't want that.
Oh, that's not the case at all.
No,
Okay,
not
good.
at all.
Good. So, because that's a thing in like Hollywood, right? Like autism is like a superpower. And while autism is not a superpower, it's also not a negative thing. It just is a thing. It just is what it is. And for kids or people like Harlan in real life, I don't know that they've seen a character. Honestly, Leonardo DiCaprio's depiction in Eating Gilbert Grape, I legitimately think that that's a very well-intended performance. Is it the most accurate? Maybe not, but it's really, you can tell that there was effort put into that performance. I Am Sam, same thing.
Rain Man is another.
Rain Man to a lesser extent. Rain Man's more like a superhero thing, right? But again, it wasn't done with malintent.
Well-known Hollywood example.
Right, but I'm talking about ones that are done well.
Got it.
Like to autism. And so I say this because Harlan has autism, or it seems to me like he has autism. It's never fully said or diagnosed as far as I'm aware of.
I think
also in the 60s, they didn't really talk about autism.
He is mute. I think that's all that is said about him.
Yeah,
but he stims, and stimming is when a person, like everybody stims at some point, but it's like when they do a repetitive motion and it stimulates something for them, whether it's flapping their hands, like opening, closing their hands, just moving, tightening their body, doing something, whatever. That's called stimming. And Harlan stims in this, and he listens to the same record over and over again, and he's nonverbal, and he needs pressure and squeezes and stuff like that. And I honestly thought that Harlan was a phenomenal. I don't know if the actor has autism, but I think that it was all done incredibly well to represent an actual population in society that gets overlooked on a daily basis. And this is not me getting on a soapbox saying like autism matters but what I am saying is I liked, as a special ed teacher, how they incorporated this into the show without making him a caricature, without making fun of him, and without making it seem like it was unrealistic. Honestly, It was one of the most realistic depictions of autism I've ever seen on a TV show. And of course, it's still Hollywood. They still have to change some things. I totally understand that. But I thought it was still really, really well done. And I really wanted to talk about that. I had a really strong urge to talk about that. Now we can talk about the story. Sure. So thank you for giving me that time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So with Vanya, it starts, she comes in. I don't know which year she comes in.
Justin Paul Kelly plays Harlan.
Justin Paul Kelly. Thank you. I'm going to look him up.
So she comes in and she runs out of the alley that they all show up in, and she immediately gets hit by a car. Back to the Future style, hit by a car, can't remember a thing. And she's hit by who turns out to be Harlan's mother, and Harlan is in the car as well. And they take that, then they take her back to the family farm where the small family of 3, the husband, the mom, and Harlan live.
Carl, Sissy, and Harlan.
Carl, Sissy, and Harlan, and they basically she's basically kind of like a
au pair, kind of.
Yeah, an au pair, nanny. She just she helps around with the house. She helps around with Harlan. Harlan is really he's really keen. he really likes Vanya, and that's portrayed through that clearly when Vanya is around, he's definitely
noticeably at ease, noticeably more comfortable.
Yeah, when it's Vanya or Sissy, he seems to be generally okay. When it's his dad, not so much.
What is true in the comics is that Vanya does have amnesia. She does not remember a thing.
Nope.
She only seems to know her name. End of list.
Mm-hmm. And she basically lives this peaceful life with this family for the most part. She just kind of helps around the house and stuff like that. And Sissy is able to open up with Vanya more than she could ever with her husband. She's able to, talk about the things and struggles that women in the 60s would experience, which was good. It's good to have that outlet, and that's what Vanya was to her. So basically, I know that Harlan, at some point, he runs away. And he goes and he unfortunately falls into a nearby pond. Vanya finds him and she uses her power to essentially lift all of the water out of said pond, go in, grab Harlan, and then the water falls down. And during that, she administers CPR.
But it's not working.
It's not working. So she basically continues to do that. And what I gathered was she used part of her power was then projected into Harlan.
That was my take as well. Do you remember that weird scene from season 1 where Reginald's love interest was dying and there were those orange beads?
Mm-hmm.
So she puts these same orange beads into him, which I think is a life force thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you also see them with the thing with Pogo.
Mm-hmm.
So she gave him something not natural, but she didn't do it consciously. It was more so she emotionally wanted Harlan so bad to live that this happened.
Yes.
So he comes back.
Yeah, he comes back.
So I literally was just not paying attention to anything you just said, and I'm glad because it sounds like it was something important.
It was.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad I missed it then.
It's going to be the thrust of the finale as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's fine. Either way, I was just looking up the stuff about Harlan and the kid who plays him.
So
meanwhile,
they go back to the house.
Sissy
go ahead,
and Vanya have been getting awfully friendly.
Sure have. Awfully
friendly. They're developing feelings for each other. They've been kind of flirting, but I don't think Sissy quite knew what was going on. But Vanya, at least subconsciously, being from the 21st century, or being a young adult in the 21st century, knew that to her, this is fine. This is okay. This is what I want. We can do this. And Sissy's like, this is the 60s. This is not possible.
Yeah.
And Vanya's like, but what are you talking about? We talked about running away together. We talked about you had plans to leave. And she's like, and she said, this is so tragic to me. She goes, those are just lies you tell yourself to get through the day. You don't actually mean them. You just need something to kind of strive for.
Right.
That's depressing.
To make life tolerable. Yeah. It is, but if you think of the 1960s,
oh, absolutely.
It tracks and it's horrible. It's heartbreaking.
So yeah, it's incredibly heartbreaking. I can't even imagine that. Again, we talk about, we could be dropped into any era, right? And we'd be fine for the most part. There are things that back then you couldn't love who you wanted to love back then. Could you I can't imagine the amount of frustration it would be from going from the time that Vanya was in 2019, because that's when the show took place, right? 2019.
Yes.
Which is a much more inclusive time. As much as it's not, it's way more inclusive than the 60s.
Allison does make a note to say civil rights movement isn't finished, not even in 2019. So she does make a note to say that it's not over. It's not done.
Hey, spoiler alert. It's still not done in 2020.
No.
Yes. But when they were shooting and filming this show, they had no idea the storm that was coming.
They had no idea. And yet it was so poignant. John, what is your take on the the amount of heartbreak this show is doing, and why does it need to kick us in the teeth so often?
First of all, we're not done yet.
No, oh my God! I want that episode four. How many
The
times
biggest
are
one
we
is still to
sad?
come.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you got a
Even
big
sadder
storm
than
coming.
you can't love who you want to love.
You got a big storm coming.
Little boy, you think this is a game?
No, I don't want to play this game. I don't like it.
But
I do like it though. It's a good
as
show.
I said
it's great.
with Klaus and Dave, like I'm really sick of this trope of like you like LGBTQ people can't have happy relationships. Like
Mhm.
I give this show 1,000 passes because I am trash and I love it so much.
That's
But
fair.
in the context of the 60s, I understand why Dave cannot and will not believe what Klaus is saying.
Right.
And I understand that Sissy, it's not realistic to her that she actually can. She just got caught up in
be
the
who she
fantasy.
wants to, who she is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Leave your husband in the 60s. No, I totally understand.
Even if it was leaving your husband for a man, which is socially acceptable, that leaving your husband is not socially acceptable. That's why there's so many people who, you know, the boomer humor of like, oh, take my wife, please take her. Like, it's because people got married and they hated each other
Yeah.
and they couldn't get divorced.
And the what's also very practical in the 60s context with this is like if she does leave Carl, Harlan is demonstrated to be like a handful. He requires someone's full attention to take
Yes.
care of every day. And how can she possibly eke out an income and a living
Mhm.
without Carl's job? It's impossible. So that's probably why she ends up staying as long as she does. There's just no realistic way for it.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's my thing. I'm sick and tired of that trope, and I would like to not see it. But I get.
Which trope did you say you don't want to see?
Oh, for like the fifth time, the LGBTQ
Oh,
romance
yeah.
is not working out. Like I just cannot.
Mhm.
Well, it's too real and it just keeps happening. Like in real life,
Right.
there are people who don't get to be who they want to be. So like it sucks to see it happen in, you know, media is an escape sometimes, right? And that's not to say that like media shouldn't reflect reality, because it should, but I can understand it sucks. It's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this plot, but things do develop with Sissy.
No, is it gonna be sad?
Oh yeah, it's not gonna be great.
No.
Once again, little boy, you think this is a game?
I have to go somewhere.
Is it anywhere else?
Literally anywhere else.
Diego.
Yes. My man.
So he went from being one of the best characters to being one of the best characters.
yes.
In the show, yeah. Easily.
Yeah, in the show, yes. No, and that's nothing against comic book Diego, but Diego show rules.
Well, because
Yeah,
they
he's excellent.
allowed him to have depth in the show that he just does not have in the comic,
No.
at least as of before Hotel Oblivion, which I still have not read and I meant to, but I got busy with stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
So-
sure we'll end up reading it anyways.
Oh, I totally will. So Diego appears and he figures out it's the 60s. And immediately he's like, you know what? I'm a hero. I was trained to be a hero. I can stop the JFK assassination.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that lands him right in an asylum. Because of course it does.
And it's like
Because if you pop up
and they
out
don't
of
even
nowhere,
depict
like,
the
listen,
asylum.
the president's going to get assassinated in like 2 weeks. I gotta save him. They're like, what are you talking about? You're crazy.
And they don't depict asylums like it actually would have been depicted. They kind of give it like a little bit of ruby colored glasses here. The asylums back then were like, he probably would have been lobotomized almost immediately.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He would not have been.
Those places were
Yeah.
hellholes.
Yes. It's almost like the fancy jail Lucille Bluth is in the later Arrested Development season.
Yeah.
Like she can't leave, but like it's pretty nice. Like
Yeah, no.
like you introduce with and he's like in group and talking in group and feeds the director a line of like how like I guess I don't know who Diego is, but I'd like to. And I was starting to tear up. And then that was revealed to be BS. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's fine. Screw me, right? So he does have a little girlfriend, Lila.
Yep.
British.
Yeah,
and
she.
Davis. Do you want to talk about Lila?
A little bit. Like, so she's introduced in the asylum with him, and she's like a fellow inmate, and she's kind of like the cast of characters all rolled into one from Cuckoo's Nest, and she escapes with him, and they're in love, kind of. And
anyone
he's like,
who is willing to sneak away bacon for you, they're a keeper. Just saying.
Yeah, she reminded me a lot of Christopher Lloyd's character, in specific from Cuckoo's Nest. And so they escape together. They're nearly killed by these three Swedish guys.
The Swedes, they're called.
Yeah, and they go on this little adventure together, and she goes with. Yes. And it's revealed that she's working with, Diego, but she's also the adopted daughter of the handler.
Yes.
The handler being the blonde woman from the first season who was, we presumed, killed by
she was
Hazel.
Shot in the head by perfect cinnamon roll, too good for this world. Hazel.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the best. When that part broke my heart, when he said that Dolores had died, or
Agnes
had died. Oh
of
my
cancer.
God, dude.
I'm like, oh my God.
Cancer, yeah.
He said it took her quick, so that was good. And I was like, oh, dude, that broke me. Anyway, so you find out that she's the daughter of the handler, so she's like a bad guy. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's
that was insane.
It's so spicy. So 5 comes and visits Diego in prison, and here's what's going down. And 5's like, you're just a child with daddy issues. That's all this is. You have a hero complex, clearly. Like, do you know how ridiculous you sound? Because 5 knows what happens to JFK, because he's been there, because that's alluded to in season 1. He's like, okay. Guards, my brother's planning to escape. Have a good day.
Yeah, what a jerk.
And like leaves. They do, not only Lila and Diego break out of prison, but the asylum, but everyone breaks out.
Yeah.
Big breakout.
Yes. I'm trying to think of what happened. And they're just kind of living on the lam for like a while.
So, they end up meeting up because Diego spends most of the time out of everybody with 5 doing investigation.
Oh, Diego's plan is still to stop the JFK assassination, but his scheme is to cut off Lee Harvey Oswald's trigger finger. And Lila's like, or we could kill him. Throwing it out there.
Yeah.
And he's like, no,
the trigger finger thing is a little bit.
Then he can't kill him.
What if he's ambidextrous?
Excellent point. Excellent point. At which point 5 shows up, and then they link up for like the main series. 5. So his whole thing is to get the band back together.
Yes.
They end up having kind of a home base at the TV shop right by the alley where they all appeared. A guy lives in there named Elliot, I believe. And he is very much so into conspiracy theories, Area 51. So Klaus uses this to his advantage to get him on his side.
5 does.
Yeah.
5 does, yeah.
Yeah. And then Diego and Lila end up crashing there as well. Luther ends up coming in as well.
Basically, they all get together at
gave
this point.
5 film to develop. The film shows the assassination, and on it they can see a mysterious figure in a black umbrella on the lawn,
on the grassy
knoll where JFK got shot. They're like, that's our kooky dad.
We know who that is.
Clearly, it's Reginald Hargreaves.
It's Reginald.
Reggie.
So then they are on a mission to find him and figure out what's going on. So then the conspiracy theorist is like, oh, obviously Reginald's one of the mysterious 12. And they're like, what are you talking about, you crackpot? The mysterious 12, they control everything. Obviously. Like the government, no, it's a shadow government. Like they obviously have their hands in everything. He clearly has to be one of them. They're meeting at the Mexican consulate because of course they are. Around this time, Lila like kind of sneaks off, and that's when you find out that she is working with the handler.
Mhm.
And that's her adopted, and that the handlers, that reveal is bananas, totally bananas. We'll have to go into her plot as well.
Ironically, Bananas, you meet Pogo again too.
Yeah, you get to see
Baby
Pogo.
So cute.
It's adorable.
Yeah, so what's going on the handler's end of things, she tries to return to work, and she's greeted to no fanfare. She goes into her office, everything is rearranged, and Carmichael, AJ Carmichael from the comic, the fishbowl headed guy, took her position.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, listen, you weren't here. Someone had to lead. Is what it is. We thought you were dead. She goes, well, am I fired? He goes, no, we'd never dream of it. You're just demoted. You get it. She's like, I
she's
took
like,
a
"I
bullet
do
to
get
the
it.
head
I
for
hate
this
you."
company. And we thank you for your service. Here's your new supervisor. And it's Herb, who is a delight.
Yes,
To be
he's
honest.
wonderful.
He's a
Yeah, he
very
is.
short man. And fun fact, the actor who plays Herb was the body actor for Pogo in season 1.
Neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a fun fact.
Look at us learning.
Look at you, John.
Hi, John. I'm really into this show.
Yeah, I had no idea.
So she is trying to scheme and find a way to get her job back. And she is using her daughter to kind of achieve those ends. I think is enough information to make this make sense.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
so.
Yes.
I would agree with that.
Cool. So, one night, so then the Mexican consulate, the meeting of the 12 is there. Diego, Lila, and Five go. Five sees them go upstairs, so he sneaks away. Lila tries to follow because the handler told her, hey, you have to protect Five. That's your mission.
Yeah.
And Diego's like, wait, what are we doing? We got to sit here. We got to dance. You got to have a nice, good old time. And Lila steals away. And then Diego tries to go after Five, but then he runs into Mom.
Yeah. I had this spoiled for me beforehand, and this is insane.
Oh, you had this spoiled?
Like on Instagram or something like that. I just saw. I was like, "Oh, cool, she's in it."
Yeah. So the actress who played Mom, which is the robot mother the children all had, is based after a real person, a real former flame of Reginald Hargreaves, which is a little crazy.
Yeah.
But that's far from the craziest thing about Reginald Hargreaves we're going to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Mm-hmm. So Five goes, like, poofs into a closet and makes like, he hasn't confronted Hargreaves in like 45 years.
Right.
So he's like beside himself with what's going to happen. What you say? He makes too much noise. Reginald Hargreaves grabs like a fire poker and like just wrecks into the closet. He sneaks away. However, the Swedes are here. The Swedes are like an elite task force. They're 3 brothers sent by the commission. And that's pretty much all we got in the Swedes. There's not a whole lot of
That's
development
really
there,
all you need.
but that's
Yeah.
really all there is. At one point, Diego is fighting on one end, and Five is fighting the other, and Lila comes up the stairs in the center, and she decides to go after the ones after Five, which makes Diego all kinds of suspicious because he thought they were like having a little thing here. So why would she go after 5? That doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, the handler has been creating her own canisters and sending her like fake mission objectives to the Swedes in order to get 5 to basically meet with her face to face. He follows Lila, and the handler's like, hey, here's the thing. Do you like jazz vibe? I love that line so much.
Yeah, which is like from the B movie.
Is it?
That's
I've not
do you
seen
like
the B
jazz? I was making a dumb joke. It didn't land, and that's okay.
Well, I didn't see the B movie. No one did.
No, and nor should you. It's not good.
But Jerry Seinfeld.
I shouldn't say that. It's not bad. Just you're good.
But it's just a B movie.
Okay,
It's
and how
clearly
do I
good
mute
enough to
John?
get its own video game.
I don't
And meme.
know. Okay.
You were saying?
Yeah. So she explains, listen, here's the thing. Why don't you kill the board of directors of the commission? That'll create a power vacuum. I will have to take the charge, and then we can get your family back home. Everyone wins. He's like, what about this apocalypse? And she's like, here's the thing. He's like, I thought that had to happen. She goes, well, here's the thing. With me in charge, it could be like jazz. We can riff, we can improvise, we can do whatever we want. So he's like, huh, interesting. She goes, let me know, because I'm your only option. You're not our only option yet.
Ooh.
Hargreaves is clearly realized something is up with the whole situation at the consulate. So the 12 are like, hey, we gotta go to the backup location. So they all leave. Like, Diego does mention Grace's name, even though she never gave it to him, and that never dawned on her, which is interesting. Little fun fact.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he says Grace, but they never exchange names.
Huh.
So but they knew mom's name was Grace. Anyway, when the group is leaving, the 12 are leaving in their cars, 5 shouts ancient Greek to Reginald.
Yep.
And Reginald's like, huh, there's clearly more going on to this than I thought. Also, I guess with Luther, we forgot this because this happens very late in the series, but happened much earlier on in the show, in the timeline. When Luther appeared in Dallas, the first thing he did was try and go back home.
Yep.
So he gets on all kinds of buses to like go from Dallas to New York City, which is not close. Gets there.
No.
It's the same building, and Reginald is having a huge giant party, and everyone, and he's like, who's to say what'll happen? No one can say for sure, but one thing is an absolute certainty: I am getting another drink. Everyone's like, oh, Reggie. That kind of party. So he shows up.
Do they actually say that?
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh my god.
It's like that kind of party.
That's so dumb. I
But
love
that's,
it.
of course, the company Reginald would keep. So, like,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course.
So he's like, listen, I'm your kid. I know what's weird. I'm from the 60s. Like, I'm not from the 2019. He's like, that's impossible. He's like, no. And yeah, he says something about time travel and how that's like, and he's like, no, it's not impossible. You said you know time travel. He says, no. Time travel is not the issue. The issue is I have a deep, deep hatred of children.
Oh,
Why would I adopt 7 children? It doesn't make any sense.
it's a valid point.
It's a very valid point.
She's like, so I suggest you get out of here. It's like, you're not KGB. You're not CIA. You're not MI6. I have no idea who you are. Get out of here. Which, like,
Yeah.
I get it. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
So
Poor
and then
Luther.
Luther's just like, but I took a bus. He's like, I don't care. Leave.
You're not my dad. I'm not your dad. Get out.
Yeah. So he goes back home, and then his whole story is just sad panda, unfortunately. Like, not much goes on there. The one thing I do love that they did keep over is that he is eating his feelings like he did in Dallas. Like, a lot. Like, he has a lot of mac and cheese, like a lot of barbecue. Like, he just keeps eating his feelings, which is a nice carry. I do like that nod to the book.
Yes.
Back to we're talking about
Five.
Diego.
We were talking about
five-ish.
you talking about Luther quickly. Yeah, we're talking about like basically wrapping up to the not the end, but like we're getting there.
Yeah, we're
to
basically bringing
to the
everybody
team getting together.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Reginald realizes, okay, there must be something on, and the children all get together, and Vanya's like, "Oh my god, I can't! It's so great to meet you." And everyone's like, "Crazy." Like, you're crazy, right? And she's like, "No, I'm so happy to have family. Amazing. Anything about me." Five gives her a crash course, and she's like, "What? What causes the apocalypse? You do, Vanya."
He's like, what? Well, Luther tells her that technically.
And she's like,
what?
"This doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense." So the family's trying to tread water because when Anya gets angry, bad things happen. That's what happened the first time. So they're trying to have that not happen this time. They still haven't figured out the root they caused the apocalypse. But it's not unreasonable to think it's Vanya, even though Five saw fighting alongside them at the apocalypse.
Yeah. That was a really cool scene.
It's cool to
Just
Frank
all of
Sinatra's
them.
My Way.
Yeah, to all of them
Yeah.
just fighting and showing their powers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this series or in this season, I did not realize that Diego can control metal. I thought he was just really good with knives.
He
That's what I thought too.
Thrown objects he can manipulate.
Okay, I thought it was like he was essentially like a Magneto mixed with like long shot.
No, it's like if an object is thrown, he can manipulate. Which is why I think his knives have those like air holes in them. It probably makes them way easier to like turn on a dime and do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm not a scientist. So the kids are together and they can't figure out what's going on. Five reveals that the world's going to end in 10 days. Klaus is the only one who doesn't know this. Which is great. He's like, what? Why am I the last to know? Then Luther and Diego like storm off. Klaus, Vanya, and Allison decide to get tacos.
Yeah, they have.
Because Klaus is like, what can be done? Tacos? Tacos? Tacos?
They have a nice family moment with Vanya.
They do.
It's really sweet.
Which is like for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, in ever.
And it's very heartwarming. I love it. And then our heart is broken because everyone leaves and Ben is still sitting there. And he just says, "I've missed you all very much."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But everyone left the room. And I'm like, oh my God, this kid.
Yeah. I
So
love Ben.
Diego and Luther fight as they do, because there's always the team, like number one, number two power struggle between them. And they're followed. And they're followed by Reginald's pretty weird looking driver, who gives them a note that says, "To my pursuers, I basically request your presence at my place of residence at this time." So like he wants to meet everyone and hash this out because like too much weird stuff's been happening. Too many strangers are calling him father. Like he's going to get to the bottom of this.
Yes.
He don't like it.
Right.
No, he
needs, well, also like as a man of science, he has to figure what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
You also with, I guess, Baby Pogo, it doesn't really super matter, but it's neat. They send Pogo to space. He comes back not great, and the last desperation to keep him alive. Reginald does give him a shot, and this I think is where he met Grace, because like I guess her field had to do with Pogo. It's not really discussed, but like it would track. And so he has like a syringe that he injects him with, and it looks to be beneath Pogo's skin, these like orange life particle things. And that's what comes back, and that's presumably what gives him the ability to speak, because we don't see him speak before. We can tell he's very intelligent, but we don't see him speak.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And that's all we get with Pogo, but like just to get that out of the way. So the gang decide, and we also get an adorable dance montage with Vanya, Allison, and Klaus. And it's at the salon, and everyone is so happy, which means Vanya smiled, which is it's what the country needs right now. Like,
you're absolutely right, Jonathan. You're absolutely
like it's so heartwarming. It's so good. And they're just basically figuring out, because Vanya needs help and Allison needs help, but they all need help with their relationships. Klaus is like, I love him, but like he's going to die. He's throwing his life away. He's going to die. It's like, I love him, but he doesn't trust me because he can't see what's going on. And Vanya's like, I love her, but it's the 60s. And they just have a beautiful, wonderful dance montage time where the three of them
interesting.
Bond. Yeah, it's clearly this
a dance off would be very interesting.
It's very much so this season. I think We're Alone Now, and I can't think of the song they use, which makes me upset, but that's fine. We'll get there. They get to the dinner, and Reginald's like, "Hey, what is going on? Like, tell me what's happening." And he goes, "Well," and everyone's like, "Well, so you adopted us? Why on earth would I do that? I don't like children. Why would I do this? We have super abilities." And he's like, "Oh yeah? Like what's going on?" So they all kind of demonstrate what's going on. He's like, "Why would I take in 6 people?" And they go, 7. One of us is. And that's when the class is like, "Yeah, unfortunately ghosts can't time travel." And Ben's like, "Dude, I'm right here."
So he lied.
I think Diego probably throws something.
Yeah, Diego throws something.
Space Boy.
Allison rumors Diego to tell him to punch himself in the face.
Yeah, because Diego's like, "Yeah, but she never uses her power." I remember you punch yourself in the face. Just decks himself. So great.
And then Vanya uses her power and basically breaks everything on the table on accident.
Yep, because we saw, and everyone's like, no, don't do it. Because last time she used her powers, the apocalypse happened. So I'm like, oh, no. But she was able to control it. And and we kind of learned from season 1 that it's kind of has to do with sound waves to a degree-ish.
Right.
Or like frequency or like something. What's very interesting, and I realized again, is that she's never been trained. So she's just figuring this out as it comes. The other 6 have been trained. She has not. So like, she's trying to figure this out. It's great.
She's doing her best, darn it.
She really is, and does a great job.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
So eventually,
Ellen Page does amazing in this show again.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people wondering like why they changed Vanya so much. I'm like, well, here's the thing: you have your biggest star of the show bedridden and not participating in this art, so changes had to be made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just straight up, like stuff had to be. But I liked Vanya. I like that she gets to be herself, not really inhibited, not feeling less than. Like gets to be herself. It's great.
Yeah, good for her.
You get to see her for like the first time in Vanya's life be a part of this family, and feel like she belongs. Be happy to be in everyone be to have her in their company. It's great. Eventually,
it's great.
Ben possesses.
It's well deserved.
Yeah, it's great. Eventually, Ben possesses Klaus.
Yeah,
which shows what he can do. But Reginald just like, okay, you're the weird. He eventually steals away to talk with 5, who's the only sensible one. in the group. And Five tells him what happened, and Reginald, knowing time travel's thing, goes, maybe your appetite was too big for your abilities. Maybe instead of going by decades, you should try something small, like second. Five's like, huh, okay, try it. So Reginald, having been a dead end, they also like figure out like you're gonna do something with the president. He's like, what are you talking about? And they show him the photograph, and he's like, you figured it out. You've cracked the case. You discovered my nefarious plot. That's what you wanted to hear? Diego's like, He goes, well, I need proof, because like this is nothing. Mm-hmm. This is a man in an umbrella. This is
just a man standing in front of an umbrella.
Yep. Like, so they get no help there. At this, and also during this, Diego stutters, and my heart broke again. But it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
They, after the dinner, the handler, things are getting kind of weird at the commission. She's taken over, but no one likes her. She keeps Carmichael in a bowl on her desk.
Mm-hmm.
She does. So this is a dead end. So Five does end up having to kill the board of directors, which is a great scene.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Very violent. Very good.
Very violent.
Very violent.
Very violent. A lot of implied violence, but like, man, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so then she takes control and puts Lila as her second in command. And Lila's like, and she's like, listen, I'm going to be the most important woman in all of time. You're going to be my right-hand man, like my number two, whatever. Like, I have to know that I can trust you. She goes, okay, you can. She's like, good. Meanwhile, Diego, I'm sorry, this is before the dinner, but I love it. Diego's like, here's the thing. Reginald's going to try and play us like he always does. Like we know he will. With our numbers and our ranks. So here's the thing. From now on, no more numbers with us among us. No number one, number two. We're all team zero. We're all very important. We're all in this together. We're all the same level of importance, which is above number one. All of us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is great. This is wonderful. So Lila, and what happened? How does this exactly go? The Swedes, they've had countless runs with the Swedes, which are ridiculous fights. One of the Swedes died.
Yep.
I forget how the first one died.
Wasn't it?
I know how the second one died.
Yeah.
I forget how the first one died.
Didn't you blow up?
Probably.
Like, I know that it had something to do with Diego's knife because it was there, but I know that he blew up because they gave him a Viking funeral.
Yes.
And all that was left was his arm.
Yes. So what happened was the handler laid a trap in the woods for the Swedes. She sent them on a target or on a mission to kill Diego on the fake mission. Mm-hmm. And she had Lila steal one of Diego's knives to frame Diego.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hunting Diego in the woods where he isn't. And one steps on a mine and just gets blown up.
Yep.
So they're like, okay. So then they find out where the Umbrella Academy had been hiding with this Elliot guy. And they kill him. Straight up just kill him. Mm-hmm. They torture him. And then in his own blood, they write Oga for Oga across the entirety of the downstairs. Mm-hmm. And it's gruesome. But that's what happens. So they come back. They see this and they're like, oh man, this is bananas. They bury Elliot, or Diego buries Elliot. Mm-hmm. And Lila's like, hey. So takes out a flask and is like, well, here's to him. Takes a swig of it. It passes to Diego. Diego takes a swig of it. Diego's immediately poisoned. Lila spits out hers. So she drugged him. She takes Diego to the commission. And she's like, listen, you said I could pick my own staff. I want Diego working at the commission. She's like, no. Why? You said I could pick. Why can't I have no decisions? So she asks, the handler asks Diego, like, so staring at the barrel of a gun, are you loyal to your, your family or your friends? Is that the one?
I don't remember.
Something like that.
I don't know.
And Diego replies, like, I'm loyal to myself. I belong to no one, especially Lila. And she's like, all right, that's good enough for me. So send it down to orientation, where you get a ridiculous, like, 50s orientation video for the commission.
Yes.
I love it so much. So much. And he sneaks away, discovers that there's the infinite switchboard.
Yes.
From which you can see all of time, which is a very necessary tool for the commission to have.
Mm-hmm.
He sneaks in, the switchboard and just instantly messes something up because it's a switchboard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of buttons and dials and plugs.
Yep.
To mess something up, Herb comes in and is like, what are you doing? You wouldn't put this in there. You got to put this in here. And he's like, huh, okay. Hey, show me JFK assassination. And he's like, why would I do that, Diego? And he's like, you know who I am? He's like, Herb, you're number 2. Everyone knows who you are. Are you kidding me? So he's like, huh, okay. So they show up the JFK assassination, and what happens is JFK doesn't get assassinated.
Nope.
They keep going, but there's a blast behind
a large
him.
Explosion in a building behind them.
Which is the FBI building.
Yeah, which is the FBI building, and JFK is able to speed away safely. And basically,
they get a different angle of it.
Yeah, and you see it's Vanya.
And pure glowing white light.
Yes. And
cut to
yeah, and that's when they realize that that's what starts the apocalypse, is that JFK believes that the explosion was an attack by the Russians. And
so then the Russians attack Alaska. The U.S. retaliates. The entire world retaliates and causes nuclear war on a global scale.
Yes.
And that's what causes the apocalypse.
Everybody fires their missiles.
Some Dr. Manhattan level shenanigans. So, cut to Vanya. Carl finds out about them. About Sissy and Vanya. Yeah. And being a man in the 60s, a husband, is not happy. We have to stop this right now. So he forcibly gets Vanya to accompany him on a drive that she is super not needed for.
No.
And he goes, listen, there's this disease among cows, hoof mouth disease, and one cow will spread to another cow, but you have to kill it. You have to kill it immediately to stop it from happening. And she goes, and she's not an idiot. She picks up on what he's alluding to. He goes, listen, who I am is not a disease. Well, kinda, because it's the 60s. It's not a good environment for he and his mom live in sin like that. So I don't want to have to, send anyone away. I'd hate to have to send him off to boarding school, but that'd be the best thing to keep him from witnessing the horrible behavior in his own home.
Mm-hmm.
So Vanya's like, okay, get it. We'll leave so Harlan can be with Sissy. 5 catches up to her. It's like, okay, listen, here's the deal. I killed the board. All right, I had no time to explain. So the handler for killing the board did give 5 a briefcase to get back to 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But she gave them an hour to get the family together to do it. Not realistic in this life.
An hour and a half.
An hour. Hour and a half?
I thought it was an hour and a half.
Hour and a half, sure. Regardless,
it was a very short amount of time.
It's no doable.
Yeah.
To get everyone together. So Diego goes and gets Klaus, which, if you remember, Ben
Well,
is
that's not even
currently
considering like it's the 60s. Like if you had cell phones, that's one thing, but like, come on.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You have to actually go to everyone and get them together in the one place in 90 minutes. No, it's
And they are all spread out around Dallas, which is a very large city.
yes. So Luther has to go get Vanya from the farm. Five tries to go get
Five
Vanya?
goes
Five
to
tries to go
Vanya.
get Vanya.
Luther
And
was
Vanya's
Allison.
like, listen, I'll go, but they're going to come with me.
Mhm.
And Five's like, absolutely not. You don't understand the timeline stuff and how this works. I already messed it up bad enough, caused another apocalypse. There's no way. And she's like, listen, it's a mother and her child. Nothing's going to happen. And he goes, listen, no one is insignificant. Like everyone, and I think Diego said something like, everyone changes the world. That's just the reality of it. Everyone does that. And I love that theme. And yeah, so she's like, cool, I have to go say goodbye to everyone, but I'll be there. He's like, there's no time. She goes, it's this or I'm not coming, straight up.
Yeah.
You get your pick. So, okay. So Vanya decides to, I guess, double cross, quote unquote, and does decide, okay, well, Sissy and Harlan are going to come with me. So they get in the car to run away, but they're stopped by Carl's brother, who's like a state trooper
Yeah. Bunch of
And-
cops. There's a big
at a traffic stop, basically.
yeah, traffic stop.
And they subdue Vanya, but after some power, and she is not able to. The Swedes attack Allison and Raymond,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
they can't make it because of that. But we get an amazing fight scene when Diego and Ben / Klaus are leaving.
Mm-hmm.
The followers like, any last words of wisdom, and Ben can't think of anything poignant, so he goes, oh my god, we're back again. Brothers, sisters, everyone. Dang. And it starts an amazing fight scene set to the Backstreet Boys.
Yes.
Oh my God. No
It is
way.
Yes.
excellent.
Backstreet's back.
All right.
All right.
It was fantastic. And right before Ben leaves, he also says, hey, he tells one of the followers, tell Jill that just laying in the dirt with her was the best moment of my life. And then they leave,
Yeah.
which was nice and heartwarming and sweet. And I love Ben. He's great.
Ben is great. So
but yeah.
the only people that make it are Five, Luther, and
Klaus.
Klaus.
Otherwise, Vanya has been taken.
Vanya's been
Diego
taken.
has been taken, and Allison had to fight off the Swedes, which resulted in her rumoring one to kill the other.
Yeah, I remember you killed your brother.
Yeah. And he chokes him out.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's messed up. So, yeah. So they're not able to make it, so they don't make the jump. So Five goes to the handler, and he's like, what was that? That was impossible. He goes, no, it wasn't. It was part of the deal. I'm not a bad person. You're just incompetent. And Five's like, listen, lady, you messed up. But then he realized his 14-day younger self just arrived in Dallas to assassinate the president.
Yes.
So the plan is to get his briefcase now,
Yep.
to go back. So yeah, we're pretty much split in two.
Yeah.
Vanya
so we
is
have-
interrogated by the FBI
yes.
because Carl told all these she's a communist, she's clearly a spy, her name is clearly Russian. Come on.
Heard her. Yeah. Speak Russian. And
She's-
sleep.
she's-
yada, yada.
She's can't think of like corrupting my wife. Like this is like clearly she's a Russian spy.
Yeah. So they interrogate her. It goes nowhere. They take the interrogation to essentially torture, where they
They
hook
put her
up.
feet in water and they
Yeah.
shock her.
and they shock her.
Oh my God.
And they give her acid.
Mm-hmm.
And in her mind, she's transported to the Umbrella Academy, but everyone is their current age, including Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And they're asking her to remember, because he's like, because the guy's laying out. So you just show up out of nowhere one day, no clue who you are, but you know your name, but no clue who you are. And you're corrupting this man's wife. And like, are you a Russian spy? Like, this is all very suspect. And he's like, no. I'm sorry. She's like, no, obviously not. Like, remember, I can't. Remember, I can't. Remember in Russian. She says, I don't know in Russian. So 1960s America, she's in some trouble.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
She didn't even know she spoke Russian. But of course, Reginald would have taught her Russian because that's, if he taught them ancient Greek, of course he taught. Also, at one point, Allison does say she knows 14 languages. So that super tracks. So so they're shocking her, trying to get her to remember, but then her powers start happening and pulsating, and it's too much. Everyone in the building or in that room dead.
Yeah, they get
Diego
just wrecked.
just completely wrecked. But the device is still going, so she still is pulsing and in extreme agony. Diego, Allison, and Klaus go to try and rescue Vanya. Allison tries to go in and physically cannot. The pulses are coming from the room. She cannot make it.
Yes.
Diego takes his knives, tries to put one in the ground, in the tile after the other, and climb like you would up the face of a cliff.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite get there. But he does get the fire hose open. And that shoots back to where they're at the beginning of the hallway. Klaus tries to climb the fire hose to get to her, but he can't. Klaus does say the line that Vanya has realistic expectations of him and who he is. And who he is sexy trash. That is possibly my favorite line in the series. Love it. So Ben realizes he is unaffected. So he slowly goes up to Vanya. And Vanya is still trapped in this like nightmare. Like, remember, everyone is served food, including, and Mom is there and serves her hers. And she's like, oh my God, Mom, are you okay? And she, again, breaks my heart from season 1, goes, of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? In the same exact candor.
Mm-hmm.
The show played with my emotions so much, I swear to God.
And the food that they're eating is a brain.
They're brains. They're human brains.
Human brains. And every time she takes a bite, she remembers.
Yeah.
It was gross.
And all the other kids are excited to eat. It's like Allison's like, yay, like claps her together. Like it's her favorite food. And Reginald's like, what's wrong? Just eat it. And he's like, just one more bite. It's fine. Just try to remember. She takes the bite and then everything's pretty calm. And she's able to see Ben.
Yes. My sweet boy.
And Ben's able to talk to her for the first time in 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, they have a heart to heart.
Mm-hmm.
He explains that she's not alone. That he loves her, obviously.
Oh God.
They're not alone. And she starts to calm down. It's going to be fine. Then he starts slowly disappearing in tiny blue flakes. Start disappearing off of him.
I hate it so much.
She's like, oh my God, am I hurting you? And he goes, it's not your fault. You're not trying to. I knew what this was. At least this time I get to say goodbye. Because you never really see how he died in the first place.
No.
They hug because he asks her for one final favor. And she goes, of course, anything, because you're saving my life right now. And he says, "Will you hug me as I go? It's been a long time."
I hate it.
So Ben,
I really hate it.
yeah,
Like I said, you thought that this was a game.
I'm crying a third
Well.
time over over this scene.
Yeah, it is very. It's. Oof. It hits you
Yeah.
right in the feels. But she's able to come to and get control of her powers, and luckily the building doesn't blow up, which means
Right.
as far as they're concerned, the apocalypse has been avoided.
Yes, they were able to prevent that from happening.
However,
Diego realizes, oh man, JFK is still going to get assassinated.
I can still save the president.
I can still do this.
So he goes on a full out sprint, straight
Meanwhile-
to the grassy knoll. But yeah,
But first-
meanwhile,
The plot to get the briefcase from young/old 5.
yeah,
So they find, so obviously 5 knows where he was at this time. He lived it 14 days ago. And Luther's like, here's the thing. Why are you acting so weird? And he goes, oh, because of paradox psychosis. You know, that thing. What's that? Well, some crazy stuff's going to happen if you become in remote proximity to another you. It's like itching, uncontrollable sweating, denial.
I'm looking it up right now.
I can tell you 7. I know 7's homicidal rage. Yeah, so some bad stuff's going to happen. So he was like, okay, well, let me go and break the ice. He goes, why? He goes, how freaked out would you be if a younger you just appeared out of nowhere? He did, like, you don't know what I look like at this point yet. Let me break the ice, smooth it out. Very logical, makes perfect sense.
Okay.
So he goes
These
over there and
are-
he's like, hey,
These are the 7 stages of paradoxal psychosis. 1, denial. 2, itching. 3, extreme thirst and urination. 4,
Okay.
excessive gas. 5, acute paranoia. 6, uncontrolled perspiration. And then 7, homicidal rage.
yep. So Luther's like, 5. Who are you? Like, it's me, Luther. What is going on? He was like, listen, it's all going to be good. You just got to not freak out. What are you talking about? Hey, just don't freak out. Introduces him to 5. So they lay out the plan. And the whole thing is 5 explains that younger / older 5, 5-2, is that what we're going to call this one?
We can call him
That
To
makes
make this
5-2.
work. Okay, so 5-2 has to go to 2019, and then he should leave us the briefcase, and then everyone can keep going about their lives, and like no one gets erased from existence, and everything's fine. 5-2's like, I have to go pee now. So he gets up and gets one of the stages, gets up and goes to pee. Luther comes in, he's holding the eyeball from season 1, and Luther's like, yeah, that's a dead end. Don't even bother. It's like, what do you, like, no, that's ridiculous. So then in the bathroom, they decide, hey, listen, 5 is expendable because I have to live. 5 doesn't have to live. Why don't we screw him over? Go to 2019 and stop the apocalypse. You know how it happens. You know how to prevent it. And Luther's like, I'm a big dumb idiot. All right. So then they go back. And they're like, cool, we got a deal. Let's go do the thing. They're like, great. So they all start going to where 5-2 ends up shooting JFK.
Yes.
He gets his briefcase, gets the gun together. Fun fact, in the briefcase, I noticed he has a copy of Vanya's autobiography.
Yep.
So he's trying to read what his family turned out to be like, which is also heartbreaking. But also, it's a paperback copy, so that book didn't sell that poor. Anyway,
yeah, clearly
Obviously.
well, not in season 1. It got discounted pretty hard. Anyway, so on their way, 5 goes with him and goes, listen, he said that you should screw me over. Go to 2019 and stop the apocalypse. And he goes, oh my God, how'd you know that? He goes, because I'm him, you idiot. And that's exactly what I would do. He starts itching. And was like, oh my God, it's psychosis. And he goes, no, it's not. You just itched yourself. No, I didn't itch. And he goes, denial stage 1. Like, clearly, denial is stage 1.
Clearly, both 5s, by the way, are heavily experiencing paradox psychosis.
Yeah, like,
Heavily.
yeah, because 5-2 even said, like, I never feel better in my life. Denial.
Yeah.
So they end up getting the shot together, and 5 notices that 5-2 left his briefcase alone. He's like, now is the time. 5-2 is using his scope, and he can see the reflection of 5 going through the briefcase. And this starts an amazing fight scene in my own right, because it's one of my favorite songs in the world. Set to Dancing with Myself.
Oh, what a good
Where
song.
it's 5 and 5 fighting. They
The fives
both
are
start
fighting
off
each other.
by kicking Luther in the nuts at the same time. So he is keeling
Beautiful.
over in pain to Dancing with Myself while they keep popping in and out of portals to punch each other.
Yeah, it was that.
So good.
It was so funny.
It's not quite the Backstreet Boys fight level, but like I loved it. It's a smaller scale, but I think the use of the song was just perfect. So the 5 ends up subduing 5-2. He gets him like on his back and starts opening up the portal. The portal from season 1 that 5 came through it. You can see Diego and Luke, Allison and Klaus like approach and like exactly from season 1. 5-2 gains consciousness and is like, so what happened? How'd you become like this? He's like, go to the portal. I'll tell you. He goes to the portal. I got the math wrong. Goes through a whole science thing, and he was 1 decimal point off. He was like, obviously. He's like, cool. Well, now that I know, and Luther kicks him through. Okay, so first the fire hydrant that was thrown in the from season 1 comes through and knocks Luther out. I am very happy that came back because that was just who knew if that was going to happen. Which had them more of a standoff again, but Luther ends up kicking 5-2 through the portal. So that's how 5 doesn't.
This isn't confusing at all. I love it.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's actually legitimately, it's not that confusing. It makes more sense than I would have thought.
So in it, 5-2 decided not to leave the briefcase and tried to bring it with him, but the portal cut off like 40% of it.
Yeah, it cut off a good chunk of it, so
So-
it was useless.
It's unusable. Then the shot rings out
Yep.
for JFK.
Yep.
Diego is running across the lawn to get to Hargreaves.
He tackles
Sees
him.
Hargreaves, tackles him. It's the creepy driver guy.
Yeah, he ends up using a double.
Yep. It was not Hargreaves. Hargreaves shows up at the meeting with like the 12/CIA. That's not expressly cleared. I believe it's the 12.
Yeah.
And 12 were like, hey, we did it. JFK was going to oust us. Good news. Doesn't have to happen now. We did it. Nothing to celebrate. JFK was not to be killed. We agreed. No. It's fine. Listen, you got what you wanted. We got what we want. When we get to the moon in 6 years, we will leave the dark side of the moon alone for you, just like you wanted in the first place. I don't care. You're never going to talk to me again. You lied to me, you deceived me, and a man is now. And they're laughing. And they go, well, I wouldn't, be acting like this if I were you, because we'll just tell everyone who you really are. And he's like, yeah. So he calmly turns back around, takes off his coat, and reaches behind his head, pulls off his human mask, and he is a crazy alien. We only see the back of his head.
Oh, like Reginald was in the first comic.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Right? Crazy.
That's I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
I was legitimately not expecting that.
So while Vanya was being tortured, Harlan was also feeling it on his end.
Mm-hmm.
He was also convulsing. He was also turning. Sissy ran in, like, what's going on? Like, how can I help you? Like, trying to calm him down, but he's just sitting there convulsing help. And he eventually calls out Vanya. So that's what I meant by their extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, but that all makes
It's
sense.
not even clear that he said it. Like, it's very weird.
Yeah.
And it's clearly because of the weird superhero stuff that happened to him after the fact. It's not his autism doesn't grant him powers.
Right.
It's the powers that granted him powers.
Right.
So Carl's like, what is happening to this boy? What did she do? Grabs Harlan and goes to take him away. Sissy stops him, gets in front of the car with a shotgun. And he's like, are you out of your mind? I did right by you. I provided for you. We have a son together. You're going to break up this family? Like, no, that's not right. You don't get to ask for more. You have everything a typical housewife would want. You don't get to ask for anything more. She goes, well, I am asking, Carl. I am asking for more, but not from you. Now leave my kid alone. They all get out of the car. Carl gets the shotgun from her, and there's like a struggle for it. The gun goes off. The shell is going straight to Harlan. The shell, Harlan clearly somehow is able to attune his powers. The shell bounces off of Harlan and ricochets into Carl.
Yep.
Carl is dead.
Yes.
At the commission, Lila, the condition on Diego working for the commission was that one slip up, Lila has to kill Diego herself.
Yep.
So Diego ran out of the orientation to go to the Infinite Switchboard, where he met Herb and the rest of the Resistance.
Yeah, and basically learned of what causes the apocalypse, so he bails.
Yep, it's Vanya. Vanya's the bomb, and that's when he bails. But the Resistance is my line from the series, or from the favorite comedic line from the. Where he's like, meet the Resistance. It's a bunch of like just office people in like traditional garb.
Yeah.
And he's like, meet the Resistance. And then one of them's like, I forget what department she mentions, but I'll just say accounting. Don't mess with accounting. He goes, stand down, Dot.
That's awesome.
I love that line.
But yeah, during Vanya's torture, she feels that connection with Harlan. She realizes that he's struggling. So she basically, like, they all get together after the assassination. They watch the news, and the news confirms that the children, the Hargreaves, all 6 of them, were all people involved in the murder of JFK. So they have all become, most wanted.
Vanya, the Russian spy, Allison, who orchestrated the civil rights riots, cult leader Klaus, Cuban asylum escapee, and he's like, Cuban? That's a little much.
And there's
But Cuban Missile Crisis, like I get it.
there's a
And then the Luther who worked for Jack
Yeah.
Ruby.
there's a bit of a kerfuffle back at, I guess, Elliot's the headquarters where Vanya wants to go to the farm. Five's like, no, we have to stay here. We have to fortify. We have to get ready because they're about to be breathing down our necks. They end up going to the farm, where they find
At the commission, though, we find the handler's like, hey, Lila, how's Diego working out? She's like, oh, you know, boys, he's eating a big sandwich somewhere, obviously. And she's like, it sounds like he skipped that orientation. And she's like, what are you talking about? Herb comes in. At this point, AJ in the bowl decides to rearrange the gravel. And Herb's like, yeah, well, I mean, I didn't get this information freely. Obviously, the handler held a knife to my neck, but Diego took a briefcase and ran away to stop the apocalypse from going down. Herb looks over at AJ. AJ spelled out 743. And then went to the top, flipped over as if to play dead, and then went back. Which Herb, being the ever pencil pusher, goes, kill order 743.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets it, shows it to Lila. Kill order 743. If you were to look at the document, there's a stamp from AJ. 5 was the agent assigned to it, and it was to kill Lila's parent. So 5-2 killed Lila's parents.
yes,
So Lila's like, oh my God, look at this. The handler reaches behind her to grab a knife, thinking like, oh no, she found out because she used AJ's stamp.
yeah, she used it.
She falsified the kill order. She did have 5 do it. 5 did kill her parents, but it was all to get her, to adopt her, to find a lonely child who would be of use to her later, to adopt her, but her parents had to be out of the picture first. So Lila tells her, AJ and 5, they killed my parents. The handler drops in and goes, of course, sweet. See, I told you. Maybe that's what Diego was doing the whole time. Maybe he was trying to find the evidence, get it out of 5. No, there's no way Diego's that smart. And she goes, well, no, there's no way Diego's that smart. But 5 is that smart. He's been playing us the whole time, don't you see? Isn't it obvious? Excellent villain, the handler. I love her so much.
Yeah,
She's really good because
Yeah.
she's really evil.
Yes.
she has
With
that
the
like
best wardrobe I've ever seen in my entire
yeah,
life.
she has that
Every
like,
outfit's ridiculous.
that pleasant, that pleasant, like she's a pleasant person, kind of like what's her face? The really evil one from Harry Potter, Umbridge.
Yes.
Umbridge.
Oh, Bellatrix. Umbridge. You mean Satan? No, actually, Satan does
No,
good
Satan's
things.
red. She wears pink.
Satan was an angel at one point.
But yeah, so Lila at this point just wants revenge. She wants vengeance on 5. And
Handler goes to the switchboard, sees what's going on, and is like, oh, that's not what's supposed to. The operator's there, and she's like, has anyone else seen this? He goes, no, I decided to call you first. She goes, oh, perfect. Kills him, gets on the horn, goes, attention everyone, recall every agent going to war. So they go to the farm.
they go to the farm.
Everyone goes to the farm because Vanya can sense that Harlan is in trouble.
Yeah.
She can feel that they're connected. So she's like, listen, I have to go to the farm. I know we're all wanted. I don't care. I have to go. So she gets up and gets in the car. And in another heartwarming scene, everyone one by one also gets in the car.
Yes, with
In season 1, the family united to confront Vanya. In season 2, family unites to support.
I love it.
It's so great. It's so pure. I love it so much. So everyone gets in. At this point, we did get a flashback to Ben's funeral, which happened immediately after he died in action. Vanya was like, "It's ridiculous, no," and everyone's like, "Shut up, Vanya, you weren't there." Or Diego says,
Yeah.
"Shut up, Vanya, you weren't even there." Allison's like, "Wow, Diego, nice one." He's like, "Oh, shut up, you were thinking it." And we're all thinking it, and she goes, "Oh, you're thinking? That's a nice change." I love that. That development is just so good. And then Klaus tries to call Ben, and it works. And he calls Ben. And Ben's like, "Listen, Klaus, like, there's like this light. I feel like I should really go to it." Klaus is like, "Nonsense. I'm the expert on Dad. You're fine. You can go at any time. Don't worry about it. You want to mess with Dad's stuff?" "Yeah, I want to mess with Dad's stuff." In that scene, also love how Hargreaves is like, ever the stickler is like, "We're going to stop training for today out of respect for Ben, but we'll start tomorrow at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, no time for your stupid feelings. Yes, we did have that scene. So, Vanya does say that Ben wanted me to tell you, Klaus, that you didn't make him stay. He wasn't sure he could go to the line. Which is great.
Yeah.
Ben, man. Ben.
Ben's
Yeah.
great, dude. I didn't think I was gonna like him as much as I
Yeah.
do.
Right? Especially because he's Sir, not a comic.
Yeah,
But like, man.
huge fan.
So good. So they get to the, and Harlan is like floating. There's all sorts of lights coming from the farm. Vanya approaches Sissy, who still has the gun. We're here to help. She goes, "What is going on? You guys wanted by the police for assassinating the president. Also, who is everybody else?" All valid points.
Yeah. Well, this is my family.
She goes, "This is my family. I found my family," because they put ads in the paper to see if anyone was missing Vanya, and no one replied. She goes, "I found my family. I'm here to help Harlan. What did you do to him?" It's hard to explain, but I'm the only one who can help him. So take me to Harlan. So they go to the barn. He has like this vortex going on
Yeah.
where he's like floating and all sorts of light and powers, and he just doesn't know what's happening, doesn't know how to control it. He has been under extreme stress ever since Vanya's interrogation. She gets in there, starts to calm down. He's starting to calm down. Then Klaus looks outside the barn, and in the distance is the handler and Lila.
No. I'm scared.
And they're like, "Huh." So Klaus is like, "Who's this? What's going on?" And Five's like, "Oh, it's the handler and Diego's lover."
Yeah.
Diego's like, ex-lover. She did some stuff.
Is that what he actually says?
Kind of. He does say
Basically,
ex. He doesn't say she did some.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. 'Cause I like that line.
Yeah, I know.
You're a good writer, John.
I try. So they go out to them and they're like, "Okay." So she's like, "Well, I decided to have the commission to take action and kill the individual responsible for killing the chairman of the board." Diego's like, "Yeah, that's not us." And Five's like, "Well,
About that.
it was kind of us. And by kind of us, I mean it was me."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Okay, but like there's 6 of us and there's 2 of you." She goes, "You know what? You're right." Snaps her fingers. The entire commission shows
Just
up.
a ton of them, waves of them. And
An army worthy of more.
and she gives them the order to open fire. They run.
Vanya's able to calm Harlan down
Mhm.
ish.
Yeah.
He's still on the corner, but the vortex isn't swirling. He doesn't appear to be in immediate
Yeah.
danger.
So she's able to calm him down enough for her to go out and help. Diego, they start shooting at him, and this is when you see Diego use his powers where the bullets are coming, and he stops them like Neo or Magneto. Which is
Yeah,
really cool.
because they're projectiles. He's able to.
Okay, so it's just anything that's projectile he can control.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I now learned that. But yeah,
In the comic, he can breathe underwater. Long time.
isn't that why he's called the Kraken?
The Kraken.
So
Yeah, his power set in this series is new for the series.
And it's much better.
yeah.
Comes into play a lot.
So Vanya's able to go out. All of her family members are in distress.
Nothing against
And
Broadway.
she just goes pathetic and uses her power and just blows them all back.
Yeah, she takes care of the ads real quick.
However, there are still two left standing, being the Handler,
Handler
and
goes,
Lila.
neat,
And
our turn.
Lila, and you can see, they ask themselves, why weren't those two affected? You see a force field around them, and then it was their turn, and then you see Lila basically return the favor and do the same thing back.
Do the same thing. Float in the air, pure white, send a huge blast.
And then
They're like, oh no.
yeah. So she
Oh no.
she ends up fighting them, and she's able to use all of their powers against them. She's able to use super strength to go up against Luther.
Yeah, she gets in a fist fight with Luther, and she's able to stop his hand at no real consequence to her, and then shove him through the wall.
Then she is confronted by Allison. She rumors Allison to stop breathing.
First though, she's like, it's so good to meet you. And Allison's like, oh my god, it's so great to meet you. Punches Lila in the face.
After
They start with a fist fight, and then she does go to Ru, and what you hear, and she goes, I heard a, and Lila goes, that you stopped breathing.
so it basically bounces back.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Redirects it.
What?
Yeah. So then Allison
I didn't know she could
can't
do that.
breathe.
And Luther is
That's horrifying.
It is.
Luther's there too.
Luther is over her body telling her to fight it, breathe.
which eventually she does.
Because eventually another power is used, so she no longer has the power,
when
but she has
goes
the new
to
power
fight
instead.
5 and is able to do the blinky teleportation stuff against him. So basically, she can do anything that
The most recent power.
Yeah, she can do basically anything that they can do. In the fight,
Wow.
She even says, no, you can do it. They have her confronted, and they're like, they have Lila confronted. They're like, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. For one of us, your birthday was October 1st, 1989. Your parents were not pregnant that day, or your mom was pregnant for that day. You're one of us. We can help you. You don't have to work for the Handler. Clearly, she's crazy. She doesn't care for you. She's using everyone. At which point the Handler comes in and kills everyone with an AK.
no.
everybody dies. And you realize that the Handler was only after Harlan, because it seemed like she was trying to build her own team of supers, which is why she had Lila's parents killed.
Yep, because because Lila in this scene shows how useful she is to Handler. And she approaches Harlan. She's like, and you don't talk back. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole thing. She wants Harlan squat.
And then
the last Swede comes and blasts the Handler.
yeah, kills her.
What?
Because he realized that the Handler was giving them fake
He put the pieces.
giving them fake assignments. He put the pieces together. Handler's the reason that his family is dead. And kills her. And then right as he's above 5, about to end 5 is able to recall.
This show is bonkers.
It's
Yeah,
great.
man.
5's able
It's so good, though.
to recall his conversation with Reginald about taking a few seconds. And that's essentially what he does, is he jumps back to during the conversation, now knowing that the Handler's going to come in and try and kill them all. You
see this whole scene rewind to the conversation with Lila. 5 realizes where he's at, sneaks behind the barn door. So when the Handler comes in, he immediately intercepts her and takes the gun away.
Yes.
Insane.
Yeah. Lila grabs the briefcase and
And then Yeah, and Lila bails.
The Swede comes in, kills the handler, and then, but not with the head, because she has a plate in her head. That's how she survived season 1, through the chest. She's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has his gun pointed at Five. Five has his gun pointed at the Swede. Five throws his gun away and just says enough with his hands up. And the Swede throws his gun away, says enough in Swedish, and leaves. Like, enough suffering has happened. You can just call this one a day. Luther's like, Diego, why did you stop it? I had her. And Diego smiles and goes, I love her.
Yeah.
It's great. I love the show so much.
And then you have Herb show up
With Dot.
With Dot. He's now taken over as interim head of the commission. They ask for a briefcase, and he just looks at all of the dead bodies and just goes, pick one.
Yeah, take your pick.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
we get an emotional goodbye between Vanya and Sissy.
Because Sissy decides she can't go.
Yeah.
It's the future. It is very scary to just go 50 years in the future.
Yeah. And
Also, why does anyone get to be happy in this
no,
freaking
that'd be
show?
silly.
Right. And on the back end, I get it frees up the writers for season 3, but like, man, don't do that trope
Heart-wrenching.
twice.
The season finally
Yeah.
ends and wraps up. They go back
Klaus
to
gets
their
a cool
home.
hat before going back
Klaus
to
does
2019.
get a nice hat. I'm sorry. That's probably the most
I want
important
that on the record.
plot point in this show.
Dang it.
And they go back to their
Oh, also, the Swede comes in. The Swede comes in, kills the handler, and Cloud goes, "Who is this guy?"
because
Because he's the only one who has not seen the Swede.
Klaus is the only one that hasn't been in the know. But they go back to 2019.
That's great.
They're back in the house, and Reginald is
They're noticeably back the day after the apocalypse.
yes, and they go in.
But it hasn't
And the
happened.
house is standing.
House is standing, and they see Reginald sitting in his chair, and he
Like, we
basically
did it. They're like, "Oh my god, you." Yeah, why wouldn't I be?
yeah, and he's like, I was expecting you guys sooner or later. And
He's still a
above
dick.
the fireplace is a big painting of Ben
Instead of 5.
instead of 5.
He's like, "Well, you guys are wrong. Like, this is not your home." They're like, "What do you mean? This is the Umbrella Academy. Like, we made it back." And he goes, No, you're wrong again. This is the Sparrow Academy." And you see some shadowy figures in the background that are clearly students. Then, Matt, you can take this.
And then Ben is very much not like the Ben that I know and love. He is very
He has amazing emo hair.
he has emo hair, and he seems to be kind of a brat, kind of a rich brat. I can't remember what he says exactly.
Who are these a-holes?
Yeah. And then that's basically then cuts to black.
Roll credits.
Roll credits, end of season 2. So it is
I am so ready for Sparrow Academy.
it is a it's clearly, I mean, this is a very long episode.
We did
where-
Dark Phoenix. We did Days of Future Past. Let's go Civil War. Like, let's go.
Oh man, that now you made me think of Civil War 2 again. So check that off the bingo card for this episode.
I wasn't even trying to go there.
episodes without
And yet you did.
mentioning Civil War 2 0.
0.
But yeah, this show is there's a lot that happens. And
Yeah.
us
So
explaining
unlike the comic, the show is a buffet of rich and amazing character development that you have to give attention to.
Mhm.
The comic also fantastic, and I love it to pieces. It's more event driven,
Mhm.
and the show
They're
is more
both good. They're
character-driven.
just different.
Yeah, like Jeremy said, they're both good. Just like you said, they are driven by different things, and it makes sense why the show would be driven by characters. You know, they have a certain amount of time, things like that. If they just did the event, I don't think it would be as good. But yeah, there's
No, and you couldn't just go like this happened, because there are motivations and reasons why.
Mhm. And yeah, so I mean, us talking about it is one thing. If you have Netflix, watch it. If you don't have Netflix, get Netflix, watch season 1, and then watch season 2. It is very, very good. It's
The music is amazing and chosen specifically. The character dynamics, it's one thing to hear about. It's entirely.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I disagree with what Matt said. What you should do is get Netflix, watch season 1, listen to our episode about season 1, then watch season 2, then listen to our episode about season 2.
Right, he's right.
And-
but if you're listening to this
Come on
episode without doing all of those,
Then you're welcome. You're welcome for the suggestion, whoever's
without
listening.
doing all those prerequisites, well, then you have to listen to our episode again.
That's when you go get somebody else and you make them do the thing.
Well, no, they can.
I'm sorry,
they
you're
can do
welcome.
all that. They just have to listen to the episode again.
Yes, absolutely.
It states in our contract with Netflix
It's the rule.
that we definitely have.
Yeah, it's signed. I'm looking at it right here. Actually, Patty Jenkins, a friend of the podcast, Patty Jenkins, is holding it right now. And she says, what's that, Patty? Yes? Oh, this is a legally binding contract with... Oh, this is Nortflix. Dang it. Dang it. It's the alternate timeline Netflix that we forgot we signed a contract with. Oh, well. It's a good thing we're getting space bucks for this. What's that, Patty? Or not? Dang it! Free exposure for Nortflix again.
But yeah,
I don't care if that wasn't funny. I thought it was funny.
Other fun fact: there are apparently 43 sparrows hidden through the series throughout season 2.
neat.
One of which is in the end epilogue, where you see running off to get with Harlan in the car to get to her family. You can see Harlan playing with like a toy, but like he's levitating it, so he still has some of the power,
Yeah, he
even though
still
Vanya
has some
did
sort
take
of-
the orbs away.
That's cool.
I don't know if we'll have to deal with that or if that will be a thing that has happened, because Harlan will probably be 70 in 2019.
Yeah,
So, like, I think that just will be a thing that will have happened. Man,
Very
season
cool.
3, let's go. Also, like, Klaus or Vanya, be happy. We get a good relationship going here.
Yeah.
Like, let's.
Yes, please. But more importantly, let's end this episode before we go for 2.5 hours.
You're right. Team 0.
All right, everybody. Have a great week.
yes, we will see you next time as we cover Fandom.
Fandom.
Woo!
So yeah, that's the podcast this week.
Bye.
Bye. You can follow us on Twitter at Talking Trades. You can follow Jeremy on Twitter at LizardKing27. You can find John on Twitter at Maesterlaka, Maesterlaka. And for this and other projects from Matt, please check out Facebook at Matt Spina Music. And remember, we're not experts, we're fans.